What I'm about to tell you happened in the Arizona desert more than 20 years ago. A young mother disappeared from her apartment on a Tuesday afternoon. Her car was still in the parking lot. Her phone was on the kitchen counter. Her daughter's lunch was packed and waiting in the refrigerator. But she was gone. It would take two. Her name was Melissa Ann Crawford. Everyone called her Missy. She was 32 years old in the spring of 2003, living in Mesa, Arizona, with her 7-year-old daughter, Emma. Missy had long auburn hair that she usually wore in a ponytail, green eyes that lit up when she smiled, and a laugh that her friends said could fill a whole room. She stood 5'6" and had a small constellation of freckles across her nose that she used to complain about, but everyone else thought was beautiful. Missy worked as a dental hygienist at Desert Smiles Family Dentistry on Main Street. She'd been there for almost 6 years. Her co-workers loved her. She always remembered their birthdays. She brought homemade cookies to the office every Friday. She had this way of making nervous patients feel calm. Kids especially loved her because she'd give them stickers and tell them jokes while she cleaned their teeth. Dr. Richard Holbrook, her boss, would later tell police that Missy was the best employee he'd ever had. Reliable, caring, always early, never missed a day. She lived in the Sunrise Palms apartment complex on the east side of Mesa, Unit 214, a modest 2-bedroom place on the second floor. She'd moved there 3 years earlier after her divorce from Emma's father, Derek Crawford. The divorce had been difficult, but not hostile. They shared custody. Derek had Emma every other weekend and one night during the week. Missy's apartment was small, but she'd made it warm. Photographs covered every wall. Emma's artwork hung on the refrigerator with colorful magnets. A collection of ceramic angels sat on the windowsill. She loved angels. Her mother had started giving them to her when she was a little girl. Missy's routine was predictable. She woke up every morning at 6:15, made coffee, packed Emma's lunch, dropped Emma at Desert Hills Elementary by 7:30, got to work by 8. Her appointment schedule was consistent. Tuesdays, she usually finished around 4 in the afternoon. She'd pick Emma up from her after-school program at 5. They'd go home, make dinner together, do homework, watch one show on television, bath time at 8, bedtime by 9. Missy was a planner. She liked structure. She kept a calendar on her refrigerator with every activity color-coded. But Missy wasn't all routine and responsibility. She had dreams. She wanted to go back to school eventually, maybe become a dental assistant or even a dentist herself. She talked about it all the time with her best friend, Rachel Martinez. Mesa, Arizona in 2003 was a city of about 400,000 people. It sits in the East Valley of the Phoenix metropolitan area. Hot, dry desert landscape broken up by palm trees and strip malls and housing developments that seem to spring up overnight. April in Mesa means temperatures climbing into the 90s, the kind of heat that makes the air shimmer above the pavement. Everyone runs from air-conditioned building to air-conditioned car as fast as possible. The Sunrise Palms apartment complex was built in the early 90s. Stucco buildings painted beige and terracotta. Each building held 12 units, 3 floors, outdoor staircases, parking lots between the buildings, a pool in the center of the complex that nobody really used except in summer. It wasn't fancy. Monthly rent ran about $700 for a 2-bedroom. Working-class families, young couples, a lot of single parents like Missy. The complex sat on East University Drive, a busy street with constant traffic. Missy's building was toward the back of the complex, quieter. Her unit, 214, faced the parking lot. She could see her car from her living room window. A 2001 silver Honda Civic. She was still making payments on it. From her balcony on the other side of the apartment, she could see the small courtyard area, some picnic tables, a barbecue grill that residents shared. Kids played there in the evenings. Emma loved riding her bike around that courtyard. The neighborhood wasn't particularly dangerous. Mesa had crime like any city,
But this area wasn't known for violence. People knew their neighbors, at least a little bit. The complex had a manager who lived on site, a maintenance crew that responded to problems. No security cameras, though. This was 2003. Security cameras weren't common in places like this. No gate. Anyone could walk into the complex. Visitors parked in designated spots. Residents had assigned spaces. Inside Missy's apartment, everything was neat. She kept a tidy home. The living room had a blue couch from a second-hand store, a coffee table that Emma had scratched up doing crafts, a small television on a stand, photographs everywhere. Missy and Emma at the Grand Canyon.
Tuesday, April 15th, 2003. Tax day. Missy Crawford woke up at 6:15 in the morning, just like always. Her alarm clock radio played country music. She hit snooze once, got up at 6:20. Investigators would later piece together her entire morning from witness statements and her usual routine. She made coffee in her small pot. She woke Emma up at 6:30, made her daughter breakfast, cereal with sliced bananas, orange juice, packed Emma's lunch while Emma got dressed, turkey sandwich, apple slices, pretzels, a juice box, a note that said, "Have a great day, sweetheart. Love you to the moon." Missy wrote notes like that in Emma's lunch almost every day. They left the apartment at 7:15. Missy wore her work scrubs, teal-colored, white tennis shoes, her hair in a ponytail, small silver hoop earrings, her work badge clipped to her scrubs. Emma wore jeans and a pink t-shirt with a sparkly butterfly on it. They walked down to the parking lot together, got in the silver Honda Civic, drove to Desert Hills Elementary. Missy walked Emma into the school. She always did, never just dropped her at the curb. They said goodbye at Emma's classroom door. "I love you to the moon," Missy said. "I love you to the stars," Emma replied. The teacher, Mrs. Patricia Henderson, saw this interaction. She'd remember it later because it was the last time anyone saw Missy and Emma together. Missy arrived at Desert Smiles Family Dentistry at 7:53. She clocked in at 7:56. The office manager, Linda Parsons, said good morning. They talked about the weather, about the war news, normal small talk. Missy's first patient was at 8:30, a routine cleaning, then another at 9:30, another at 10:30. She broke for lunch at noon. Missy usually brought lunch from home. That day she'd packed leftover spaghetti. She heated it in the office microwave, ate at her desk while reading a magazine. Some of her coworkers ate in the break room. Missy sometimes joined them, sometimes ate alone. That day she ate alone. Linda Parsons remembered because she'd asked Missy if she wanted to walk to the sandwich shop down the street. Missy said no thanks. She'd brought lunch. Her afternoon appointments started at 1. She had 3 scheduled patients, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. The 3:30 appointment was her last of the day. A dental cleaning for a 10-year-old boy named Marcus Chen. His mother brought him. The appointment ended at 4:05. Marcus and his mother left. Missy cleaned up the room, sterilized instruments, got things ready for the next day. Dr. Holbrook saw Missy in the hallway around 4:15. He asked if she needed anything before she left. She said no, everything was good. She smiled, said she'd see him tomorrow. He later told police that she seemed completely normal. Happy, even. Not worried, not distracted. Just regular Missy. That was the last time anyone from her workplace saw her. Missy clocked out at 4:22. Security badge records confirmed this. She walked to her car in the parking lot. Linda Parsons watched from the office window, saw Missy get in her Honda Civic, saw her drive away. The time was approximately 4:25. The drive from the dental office to Sunrise Palms Apartments took about 12 minutes. Traffic was light that afternoon. Missy should have arrived home around 4:37. Her neighbor, Thomas Brennan, who lived in Unit 212, said he got home from work around 4:30. He parked in his assigned space. He noticed Missy's silver Honda Civic was already in her spot. He remembered thinking she must have gotten home early. So, Missy made it home. Her car was there, that much is certain. What happened next is where the mystery begins. Missy. He looked in the refrigerator, saw Emma's packed lunch, the turkey sandwich, apple slices,
The note. His chest tightened. He checked the bedroom. Missy's bed was made. Work scrubs from previous days sat in a laundry basket. Nothing seemed off. Derek Crawford arrived around 7:15. He was 34 years old, worked as an electrician. He and Missy had gotten divorced 3 years earlier, but maintained a civil relationship for Emma's sake. He was frantic. Where could she be? This doesn't make sense. Officer Mitchell asked him questions. Had Missy seemed upset lately? Was she having problems with anyone? Was she dating anyone who might be possessive? Derek said no to everything. Missy was fine, happy, no problems, no drama. By 8 o'clock, more officers had arrived. They started knocking on doors in the apartment complex. Did anyone see Missy Crawford come home? Did anyone see her leave? Did anyone see anything unusual? Thomas Brennan, the neighbor in 212, confirmed he saw Missy's car in the parking lot when he got home at 4:30. He didn't see Missy herself, though. Apartment 216 was occupied by an elderly woman named Dorothy Grant. She'd been home all afternoon. She didn't hear anything unusual. Didn't see Missy. Officer Mitchell went down to the apartment office. The manager, Robert Hayes, pulled visitor logs. Nobody had signed in to visit anyone in Building 2 that afternoon. He checked maintenance records. No work orders for Unit 214. No reason for anyone to have been there. As night fell, the search intensified. Officers used flashlights to check the grounds around the apartment complex, the pool area, the courtyard, the dumpsters. Nothing. They checked Missy's car, unlocked it with keys from her purse. Nothing unusual inside. Registration and insurance in the glove box. An empty coffee cup in the holder. Emma's booster seat in the back. A soccer ball on the floor. By 10 o'clock, Mesa PD had officially opened a missing person investigation. Detective Sarah Ruiz was assigned as lead. She was 38 years old, 15 years with the department. She'd worked dozens of missing person cases. Most resolved quickly, but every detective's nightmare was the case that didn't. The person who stayed missing. She hoped this wouldn't be one of those. Detective Ruiz arrived at the apartment complex at 10:30. She met with Officer Mitchell, reviewed everything they knew so far. It wasn't much. Missy Crawford left work at 4:22, made it home, her car was there by 4:30, and then nothing. She vanished from a locked apartment in daylight hours, her phone left behind, her purse left behind, everything left behind except her.
Detective Sarah Ruiz didn't sleep that first night. She couldn't. A young mother missing, a 7-year-old daughter wondering where her mommy went. Every hour that passed reduced the chances of a good outcome. She knew the statistics. She'd seen too many cases go wrong. Wednesday morning, April 16th, 16 hours since anyone had confirmed seeing Missy Crawford. Detective Ruiz held a briefing at 7 in the morning at Mesa Police Headquarters. A dozen officers crowded into the conference room. She laid out what they knew. Missy Crawford, age 32, single mother, dental hygienist, left work Tuesday at 4:22, arrived home approximately 4:37 based on neighbors seeing her car, failed to pick up her daughter at 5. Last physical sighting was coworker watching her drive away from dental office. That left a window of about 30 to 40 minutes when something happened.
Detective Ruiz assigned tasks, canvass the entire apartment complex, interview every single resident. Someone had to have seen something. Check traffic cameras on University Drive. Maybe they'd catch Missy's car coming or going. Pull phone records, see who she'd been calling. Check her credit cards, any activity after 4:30. Interview family members, friends, co-workers, ex-husband. Build a complete picture. The first break came from phone records. Missy's cell phone records showed her last outgoing call was at 1:14 on Tuesday afternoon, during her lunch break. She'd called her mother in California. Conversation lasted 8 minutes. Detective Ruiz called Missy's mother, Patricia Crawford, at 9 in the morning. Patricia was devastated. She'd talked to her daughter just yesterday. Everything was fine. They'd discussed Easter plans. Missy and Emma were supposed to visit California in 2 weeks. Patricia asked Missy about work, about Emma. Normal mother-daughter conversation, nothing concerning, nothing that suggested Missy was in trouble or planning to disappear. Missy's father, Robert Crawford, got on the phone. He was a retired postal worker. He asked what police were doing to find his daughter. Detective Ruiz explained the investigation. Robert said he and Patricia would drive to Mesa immediately. The trip from Sacramento took about 10 hours. They'd be there by evening. Meanwhile, officers were going door to door at Sunrise Palms, unit by unit, building by building. Most residents hadn't seen anything.
Linda Parsons, the office manager, remembered one detail. Around 3 o'clock Tuesday afternoon, the office phone rang. Linda answered. A man's voice asked for Missy. Linda transferred the call to Missy's station. The call lasted about 2 minutes. Linda didn't know what it was about. Didn't think to ask. Detective Ruiz requested phone records for the dental office. The office phone records showed an incoming call at 3:04 on Tuesday from a cell phone number. Detective Ruiz traced it. The number belonged to someone named Carl Preston, age 42, lived in Mesa. Detective Ruiz ran his name through the system. Carl Preston had a record. Assault charge from 1997, domestic violence. Charges dropped. A DUI from 2001. Nothing violent since then, but the assault charge caught her attention. She sent officers to Carl Preston's address on Wednesday evening. He lived in a small house on the south side of Mesa, divorced, lived alone, worked as a supervisor at a warehouse. Officers knocked, no answer. His car wasn't in the driveway. They left a card asking him to call. Derek Crawford, Missy's ex-husband, sat for a formal interview Wednesday afternoon. This was standard. In missing person cases involving women, the ex-husband or current partner always got scrutinized first. Statistics showed most women who disappeared or were killed knew their attacker, usually intimately. Derek was cooperative. He gave a detailed account of his relationship with Missy. They'd met in high school, started dating senior year, got married when Missy got pregnant at 24. Emma was born 9 months later. The marriage was good at first, but they'd grown apart. Different priorities, different goals. They divorced when Emma was 4. It was amicable. They split custody. He paid child support. Never missed a payment. He saw Emma every other weekend and Wednesday nights. Detective Ruiz asked the hard questions. Did you want Missy back? Were you angry about the divorce? Were you seeing anyone? Did you know if Missy was seeing anyone? Derek answered everything calmly. No, he didn't want to reconcile. He'd moved on. He had a girlfriend named Jennifer. They'd been together for 8 months. No, he wasn't angry. The divorce was mutual. And no, he didn't think.
"Why did you call Missy Crawford on Tuesday?" Detective Ruiz asked. Carl looked confused. Who? Missy Crawford. You called her workplace at 3:04 Tuesday afternoon. Carl shook his head. I don't know anyone named Missy Crawford. Detective Ruiz showed him Missy's photograph. Carl stared at it. Then recognition dawned. Oh, her. Yeah, I know her. How do you know her? She cleans my teeth at the dentist office. Why did you call her Tuesday? Carl explained. He'd had a dental appointment scheduled for Wednesday morning. He needed to reschedule. He called the office, asked for Missy specifically because she was his hygienist, told her he couldn't make his appointment. She rescheduled him for the following week. Detective Ruiz checked his story. The dental office confirmed Carl Preston was a patient, confirmed he had an appointment scheduled for Wednesday, April 16th at 9 in the morning, confirmed the appointment had been rescheduled to April 23rd. Everything matched his story. Had he ever interacted with Missy outside the dental office? Detective Ruiz asked. No, never. Did he know where she lived? No. Where was he Tuesday afternoon between 4 and 6? At work. He was a warehouse supervisor. His shift was 2 to 10. He could provide his timesheets. His boss could confirm. Detective Ruiz verified his alibi. It checked out. Carl Preston had nothing to do with Missy's disappearance. He was just a patient who'd called to reschedule. Days turned into a week. Police searched everywhere. They brought in search dogs, scoured the desert areas around Mesa, checked abandoned buildings, checked construction sites. Nothing. Missy's face was all over local news. Her photo on every channel. Missing woman, mother of a 7-year-old. Please call if you have information. Tips started coming in. The police tip line rang constantly. Someone saw a woman who looked like Missy at a gas station in Phoenix. Officers checked. It wasn't her. Someone else saw a woman matching her description at a bus station. Not her. A psychic called, claiming Missy was being held in a basement near water. Police had to follow up on everything. None of it led anywhere. Detective Ruiz built a timeline on a whiteboard in the investigation room. 4:22, Missy leaves work. 4:25, seen driving away. 4:34, car spotted on traffic camera heading home. 4:30 to 5, window when something happened. 5 o'clock, fails to pick up Emma. What happened in that 30-minute window? The most logical theory was that someone took her. Someone was waiting at the apartment. Someone got in somehow. But how? The door showed no signs of forced entry. The lock wasn't damaged. Maybe Missy knew the person, let them in. But who? Every person in Missy's life had been interviewed. Alibis checked. Nothing. Another theory was that Missy left voluntarily. But why would she leave everything behind? Her phone, her purse, her car, her daughter? And where would she go with no money?
Traumatized. She had nightmares. She stopped talking for almost a month. The therapist said Emma was experiencing complicated grief. She didn't understand where her mother went, didn't understand why she wasn't coming back. Missy's apartment stayed empty for months. Her parents couldn't bear to clean it out. Finally, in September, Derek and Rachel packed everything up. They stored Missy's belongings in a storage unit. Maybe someday she'd come back and need her things. Nobody really believed that. But hope was all they had left. The first anniversary of Missy's disappearance came in April 2004. Patricia Crawford held a vigil at Sunrise Palms. About 30 people showed up. Friends, neighbors, people who cared. They lit candles, they prayed. Patricia spoke about her daughter, about what a wonderful mother she was, how much Emma missed her. She begged anyone with information to come forward. Nobody did. Detective Ruiz attended the vigil. She promised Patricia she hadn't given up. The case might be cold, but it wasn't closed. She was still working it, still hoping for a break. Patricia hugged her and cried, "Thank you for not forgetting my daughter." Years passed slowly. Detective Ruiz moved up in the department, made sergeant in 2006, then lieutenant in 2009. She supervised a whole team of detectives, but Missy Crawford's case stayed with her. She'd pull the file every few months, read through it, see if fresh eyes might spot something new. In 2008, there was a brief moment of hope. Human remains were found in the desert east of Mesa. Female, approximate age 30 to 40. Detective Ruiz's heart sank. She contacted Mrs. Parents, asked for dental records. The identification process took 3 weeks. The remains weren't Missy. They belonged to someone else, another woman who'd gone missing years before. Another family got closure, but not Missy's. Emma grew up without her mother. Derek did his best. He was a good father, but a little girl needs her mom. Emma struggled in school, had trouble making friends. The trauma of her mother's disappearance shaped her entire childhood. She saw therapists, she took medication for anxiety. On her 16th birthday in 2012, she wrote a letter to her mother. "I don't know if you're out there, I don't know if you can read this, but I miss you. I need you. Please come home." Rachel Martinez never really recovered either. She felt guilty. If she checked on Missy earlier that day, if she called at 4:30, maybe things would have been different. Her therapist told her that was survivor's guilt, irrational. But Rachel couldn't shake it. She moved away from Mesa in 2010, couldn't stand living near that apartment complex anymore. Too many memories. Missy's parents aged rapidly. The stress of not knowing destroyed them slowly. Robert developed heart problems. Patricia's hair turned completely white. They never stopped.
20 years is a long time. Long enough for a child to grow into an adult. Long enough for parents to grow old. Long enough for memories to fade. But for the people who loved Missy Crawford, 20 years felt like yesterday and forever at the same time. Emma Crawford graduated from high school in 2014. She'd taken her father's last name legally, wanting some distance from the media attention that occasionally resurfaced around her mother's case. She was accepted to Arizona State University, studied psychology. She told people she wanted to understand trauma. She wanted to help people who'd experienced loss. Everyone knew she was trying to understand herself. Derek remarried in 2013. A kind woman named Lisa who worked as a nurse. Lisa was patient with Emma, understood the girl carried complicated grief, never tried to replace her mother, just tried to be there for her. Emma appreciated that, called Lisa by her first name. They had a good relationship built on respect rather than forced affection. Patricia Crawford passed away in 2016. Heart attack. She was 71 years old. Robert believed she died of a broken heart. 13 years of not knowing what happened to Missy. 13 years of pain. Her body just gave out. At her funeral, people said at least she was at peace now. Robert didn't find that comforting. He wanted his wife alive. He wanted his daughter found. Robert lived alone after that. He stayed in Sacramento. The house felt empty. He kept Missy's childhood bedroom exactly as it had been. Her high school trophies, her prom dress, her yearbooks. He'd sit in there sometimes, talk to her, tell her about his day, ask her why she left, beg her to come home. In Mesa, the Sunrise Palms apartment complex changed ownership twice. They renovated in 2018. New paint, new landscaping, new management. Nobody working there in 2018 remembered 2003, remembered Missy Crawford, remembered the police investigation. The complex had completely turned over. New residents, new life. Unit 214, where Missy lived, had been rented to different people over the years. Families,
singles, college students. None of them knew a woman had disappeared. Detective Chen's pulse quickened. This could be something. He kept watching. At 5:16, the van appeared again, heading toward the exit. Same van, same angle, no license plate visible. The van left the complex. It had been there for 24 minutes, during the exact window when Missy disappeared. This was the first new lead in 17 years. Detective Chen wrote up a report, showed it to his supervisor. They agreed it was significant. But what could they do with it? A dark van with no plate, no make or model visible, no driver visible, no proof it had anything to do with Missy. It was suggestive, but not actionable. Still, Detective Chen added it to the file, noted it as a possible vehicle of interest. He circulated the enhanced images internally, asked older officers if they remembered seeing this footage during the original investigation. Nobody did. It had probably been overlooked. 2003 was before the department had good digital systems. Things fell through cracks. In 2021, Emma Crawford graduated from Arizona State University with a degree in psychology. She was 25 years old. She'd grown into a beautiful young woman with her mother's green eyes and auburn hair. People who'd known Missy said the resemblance was striking. Emma found that both comforting and painful. She got a job as a victim advocate with a nonprofit in Phoenix. She helped people navigate the criminal justice system after traumatic events. She was good at it, empathetic, patient, understanding. She knew what it felt like to be a victim, to have questions without answers, to need someone to guide you through darkness. Emma still thought about her mother every day. She was older now than Missy had been when she disappeared. That realization hit her hard on her 33rd birthday in 2022. Her mother never got to be 33, never got to see Emma grow up, graduate, start her career, fall in love, all the things mothers should see. Emma had been in therapy on and off for 19 years. Her therapist encouraged her to write letters to her mother to process her feelings. Emma had boxes of letters. Dear Mom, I turned 16 today. I wish you were here. Dear Mom, I graduated high school. You would have been proud. Dear Mom, I met someone. I think you'd like him. Dear Mom, I'm getting married next year. I wish you could walk me down the aisle. She got engaged in 2022 to a teacher named Daniel. Good man, kind, patient with her trauma. They planned a wedding for spring 2024. Emma asked her grandfather Robert to walk her down the aisle. He cried when she asked, said he'd be honored. He was 83 years old, frail, but determined to see his granddaughter married. Detective Chen attended a cold case conference in Las Vegas in October 2022. Investigators from across the country, sharing techniques, discussing difficult cases. One presentation focused on genetic genealogy, the same technique that had caught the Golden State Killer, using DNA from crime scenes and comparing it to public genealogy databases, building family trees, identifying suspects through relatives. March 2024. Detective Marcus Chen received an email from the Forensic Genealogy Lab. Subject line, Crawford Case Results. His hands shook as he opened it. The genealogist, Dr. Linda Park, had spent 4 months building Missy Crawford's family tree using DNA. She'd identified hundreds of relatives, distant cousins, second cousins once removed, third cousins. The DNA connections spread across the country. Dr. Park had then cross-referenced every single relative who lived in Arizona in 2003. There were 47 potential connections, people who shared DNA with Missy and lived in Arizona 21 years ago. Detective Chen's job was to investigate each one. Look for anyone with a criminal history, anyone with access to Missy,
anyone who might have had motive. He started running background checks. Most of the relatives were distant. People who'd never met Missy probably didn't know she existed. He eliminated them quickly. But one name caught his attention. A second cousin, Dale William Morrison, age 65 in 2024, which meant he was 44 in 2003. Detective Chen pulled Dale Morrison's records. He lived in Mesa in 2003, still lived there now, worked as a maintenance supervisor for a property management company, the same company that managed multiple apartment complexes around Mesa. Detective Chen's breath caught. He checked further. In 2003, Morrison Property Management handled maintenance for 17 complexes, including Sunrise Palms. Dale Morrison had access to Missy's apartment. He worked for the company that managed her building. He would have had keys, would have had legitimate reasons to enter units. This was huge. Detective Chen dug deeper into Dale Morrison's background. Married in 1982, divorced in 1995. One child, a daughter, lived in California. No criminal record in Arizona, but Detective Chen expanded the search. Found something in Nevada. Dale Morrison had been arrested in Las Vegas in 1993. Assault. Charges reduced to misdemeanor. Paid a fine, nothing since. Detective Chen pulled Morrison's employment records from 2003. He'd been working as a maintenance supervisor for Morrison Property Management for 11 years at that point. His job included responding to maintenance requests at multiple properties, checking vacant units, performing repairs. He had master keys to every property the company managed. On April 15, 2003, was Dale Morrison working? Detective Chen tracked down old work schedules. Yes, Morrison was on shift that day. His schedule showed he'd been assigned to work on properties in East Mesa, including Sunrise Palms. He'd logged a work order for Unit 208 in Missy's building. A leaking faucet. Timestamp 3:30. Unit 208, same building as Missy, same floor, just a few doors down. Detective Chen felt electricity run through him. Dale Morrison was in Missy's building that afternoon, around the same time she came home. He would have seen her car pull in, would have seen her go upstairs. And he had keys. Could have knocked on her door, could have said he needed to check something in her unit. Missy would have let him in. He was the maintenance man. Of course she'd let him in. Detective Chen checked if there were any work orders for Unit 214 on April 15th. None. No legitimate reason for Morrison to enter Missy's apartment. But he was in the building, had the keys, had the access, had the opportunity. Next question, did Morrison know Missy was his cousin? Did he know they shared DNA? Probably not.
The search warrant was executed on April 23, 2024, 21 years and 8 days after Missy disappeared. Officers descended on Dale Morrison's house at 6 in the morning. He answered the door in pajamas. Confused. What's this about? Detective Chen told him they needed to search his property in connection with an ongoing investigation. Morrison cooperated, seemed genuinely puzzled. Officers searched every room, the garage, the backyard. They were looking for anything connected to Missy Crawford. Photographs, souvenirs, anything. They found nothing. The house was neat, organized, nothing suspicious. Detective Chen interviewed Morrison at his kitchen table while the search continued. He asked about Morrison's work in 2003. Morrison remembered. Yeah, he'd worked for the property management company for years. Retired in 2018. Did you remember a woman named Missy Crawford? Lived at Sunrise Palms? Morrison's face went blank. Should I? She disappeared in April 2003. You were working at that property the day she vanished. Morrison's eyes widened. That woman? Oh my God. I remember that. The police talked to everyone. talked to me too back then. I told them I didn't see anything. Detective Chen pulled out the old reports. Morrison was right. He'd been interviewed in April 2003 during the canvassing, gave a statement, said he'd been working at the property that day, fixing a faucet in Unit 208, left around 4:15, didn't see Missy Crawford, didn't see anything unusual. The investigating officers had noted his statement and moved on. No reason to suspect the maintenance man, especially when his alibi checked out. Work orders confirmed he'd been fixing that faucet. But Detective Chen had new information. He looked Morrison in the eye. "Did you know you're related to Missy Crawford? Your second cousins, share DNA." Morrison looked shocked. "What? No, I didn't know that." "How would I know that?" "Your mother's side, the Crawford family in California." Morrison shook his head. "I don't know any Crawfords. My mother had a big family. I never met half of them. She grew up in California, moved to Arizona in the 60s. We didn't keep in touch with extended family." Detective Chen watched Morrison's reactions carefully. He seemed genuinely surprised, genuinely confused. Either he was telling the truth or he was a very good liar. The search of Morrison's house revealed nothing connected to Missy. No evidence, no trophy, nothing. Officers checked his vehicles, his current truck and a car registered to him. Nothing. They checked his storage unit. Nothing. Detective Chen had to let him go. They had circumstantial evidence, opportunity, access, a distant familial connection, but nothing concrete. No physical evidence tying Morrison.
Detective Chen went back to his office. He sat with the file. 2 decades of work. His work. Detective Ruiz's work before him. Other detectives. Hundreds of hours. Thousands of hours. And they were no closer to answers. He'd thought the DNA breakthrough would solve everything. Instead, it opened a door that led nowhere. He called Emma Crawford, told her about the investigation, about Dale Morrison, about the search. He had to be honest. "We don't have enough evidence to charge him. We're still investigating. But I wanted you to know we haven't given up." Emma thanked him. Her voice was tired. 21 years of this. 21 years of dead ends and false hopes. She'd heard it all before. She had almost given up hope that they'd ever know the truth. But Detective Chen hadn't given up. He went back through Morrison's employment records, looking for something he'd missed. And then he saw it, a detail that changed everything. In August 2003, 4 months after Missy disappeared from a building where he worked, where he had keys, where he had access, June 2024, Detective Chen couldn't let it go. He reviewed every document related to Dale Morrison, every work order, every maintenance log, every property Morrison had worked at in 2003. There had to be something. He made a list of every apartment complex Morrison serviced, 17 properties, all over Mesa. Detective Chen started visiting them, talking to current property managers, asking if they had old maintenance records from 2003. Most didn't. Records that old had been destroyed. But 3 properties still had archived documents in storage. One of those properties was Desert Vista Apartments on Baseline Road, the complex where Dale Morrison lived in 2003. Detective Chen went through boxes of old maintenance logs, work orders, repair requests. His eyes scanned page after page. Then he found something. A work order dated April 16, 2003, the day after Missy disappeared. Unit 3204, Desert Vista Apartments. The work order said, "Unusual odor reported by neighbor. Check for dead animal or plumbing issue." The maintenance worker assigned, Dale Morrison. The notes section said, "Checked unit, vacant, found nothing. Odor cleared by airing out apartment." Unit 3204. Detective Chen looked up the unit in current records. Third floor had been vacant in April 2003. According to occupancy records, the unit had been empty from March through July 2003. 5 months, a long time for a unit to sit vacant. Detective Chen's pulse raced. A vacant unit in Morrison's complex reported with an unusual odor the day after Missy disappeared. Morrison checked it himself, said he found nothing. But what if he lied? What if the odor was Missy? What if he'd put her there, in a vacant unit where nobody lived? Nobody would check. Detective Chen obtained the full rental history of Unit 3204. Vacant March to July 2003. Blue light exploded across the floor. The distinctive glow of blood. A lot of it. Someone had bled heavily in that bathroom. The pattern suggested the blood had pooled, then been cleaned. But you can't completely erase blood. Not at the molecular level. Detective Chen felt his knees go weak. This was it. This was the evidence. After 21 years. The forensic team took samples. They'd need to extract DNA, compare it to Missy's. But Detective Chen already knew. This was her blood. This was where she died. They kept searching, used a saw to cut into the bathroom wall. Sometimes killers hide evidence inside walls, behind tiles. They found nothing there. Checked under the floorboards in the bedroom. Nothing. But the blood evidence was enough. The DA issued an arrest warrant for Dale Morrison. On June 20th, 2024, Detective Chen and 4 uniformed officers arrived at Morrison's house. Morrison answered the door, saw the officers. His face went pale. "Dale Morrison, you're under arrest for the murder of Melissa Ann Crawford." Morrison didn't resist, didn't say anything, just held out his hands for the cuffs. His expression was strange, not surprised, not angry, almost relieved. At the police station, Morrison sat in an interview room for 2 hours before asking for a lawyer. His attorney arrived, a public defender named Ruth Sanders. She conferred with her client, then addressed Detective Chen.
That day, he saw her come home, watched her get out of her car, walk up the stairs to her apartment. He don't know what came over him. He wanted to talk to her, just talk. He had keys. He could knock, say he needed to check her smoke detector. Something routine. So he did. He walked up to Unit 214, knocked. Missy answered. He explained he needed to check the smoke detector, annual maintenance. She let him in. Why wouldn't she? He was the maintenance man. She'd seen him around. He seemed safe. He checked the smoke detector in the hallway, then the one in the bedroom. Missy was in the kitchen, making a snack. She asked if he wanted water. He said yes. She was kind, friendly. It made what happened next even worse. He finished the smoke detectors, stood in her living room. She handed him the water, smiled. Is that everything? He should have left, should have said thank you and walked out. But he didn't. He asked if she wanted to get coffee sometime, just casually, like it was a normal thing to ask. Missy's smile faded. She said, "No, thank you." She was flattered, but not interested. Very polite, very gentle, but still no.
He'd killed an innocent woman, a mother, because she'd said no to coffee. He knew he had to move fast. He checked the window,
The parking lot was quiet. He went to his truck, got a large canvas tarp he kept for paint jobs, came back upstairs, wrapped Missy's body in the tarp. She was small, light. He carried her down the back staircase, the one that faced away from the main parking lot, put her in the back of his truck, covered her with more equipment, boxes, tools. He drove to his apartment complex, Desert Vista, his hands shaking the whole way, his mind racing. He had access to vacant units. Unit 3204 had been empty for weeks. 3rd floor. Nobody around. Nobody would hear anything. He parked near the building, waited until dark, then carried her body upstairs. He put her in the bathtub, didn't know what else to do with her. He went home to his own apartment, Unit 1106, 1 floor below. Sat there all night, thinking, planning. What was he going to do? The next day he had to work, had to act normal. He showed up at Sunrise Palms, missing woman. Officers were interviewing everyone. They interviewed him. He told them he'd been working there yesterday, fixed a faucet, didn't see anything. They believed him. Why wouldn't they? He was just the maintenance guy. At Desert Vista, a neighbor reported a smell near Unit 3204. Morrison volunteered to check it, filed a work order, went up there. The body was starting to decompose, even after 1 day. He opened windows, sprayed air freshener, wrote in the log that he'd found nothing. The smell would go away once he moved the body. But where could he move it? He couldn't drive around with a corpse in his truck, couldn't bury her anywhere in the city. Too many people, too many cameras. He needed somewhere remote, the desert, miles from anywhere. He waited 2 more days until the weekend, told his boss he was taking a camping trip, loaded his truck. Saturday morning, April 19th, he went to Unit 3204. The smell was worse. He wrapped Missy's body in plastic garbage bags, duct tape, more tarps.
When Detective Chen showed up in April 2024 asking questions, Morrison knew it was over. When they searched his house, he almost confessed right then. But fear stopped him. He thought maybe they didn't have enough evidence. Maybe he'd get away with it. Then they found the blood in the apartment. Morrison knew. He'd cleaned that bathroom so many times, but you can't erase everything. Science is too good now. They'd match the DNA. They'd know. When they arrested him, he felt relief. Finally. 21 years of carrying this secret. 21 years of guilt. It was over. He could confess, could tell the truth, could face what he'd done. Morrison finished his statement. Tears ran down his face. I'm sorry. I know that means nothing. I know sorry doesn't bring her back. But I am. I'm so sorry. Detective Chen sat back. 21 years. 21 years of searching. And it was this simple. A maintenance man with keys. A woman who rejected him. A moment of violence that spiraled into murder. And a body buried in the desert. Can you show us where you buried her? Detective Chen asked. Morrison nodded. Yes, I'll take you there. I remember. I've thought about that place every day for 21 years. 2 days later, on June 22, 2024, Morrison led police to the burial site. They drove east on Highway 60, past Apache Junction, turned off on a dirt road, drove another 20 miles into the Superstition Mountains. Rocky terrain, desert scrub. No one around. Morrison pointed. There, near those rocks. The forensic team started digging. Morrison had said 6 feet. They dug carefully, documenting everything, taking photos. After 2 hours, they found something. Plastic, deteriorated. Black garbage bags. Inside the bags, wrapped in rotted tarp, were human remains. Skeletal, most of the soft tissue decomposed,
but bones remained. A skull.
Dale Morrison was charged with first-degree murder, kidnapping, abuse of a corpse. The district attorney sought life in prison without parole. Given Morrison's age, 65, that was essentially a death sentence. He'd die in prison. Morrison's attorney tried to negotiate a plea deal. Morrison was willing to plead guilty, wanted to avoid a trial, spare Emma and the family from having to relive everything in court. The DA agreed. Life without parole in exchange for a guilty plea. Morrison accepted. On August 15, 2024, Dale William Morrison stood in court. He pled guilty to all charges. The judge asked if he had anything to say. Morrison turned to look at Emma Crawford, sitting in the front row with her fiancé and grandfather. "I'm sorry. I destroyed your life. I destroyed your family. I took your mother from you for no reason except my own selfishness. I deserve everything I get. I hope someday you can find peace. I hope my confession."
The trial didn't happen because Morrison pled guilty, but the court proceedings still provided a public record of what occurred. The confession was entered into evidence, the forensic reports, the timeline. Everything was documented, made official. Emma Crawford attended every court hearing, every pre-trial conference, every motion hearing, every sentencing phase. She needed to be there, needed to see justice happen. Her grandfather Robert sat beside her. Daniel held her hand. They were her support system, her strength. The medical examiner released Missy's remains to the family in September 2024. 21 years and 5 months after she disappeared. Emma and Robert planned a funeral. A real funeral this time, not a memorial service with an empty casket, an actual burial. The funeral was held on September 28, 2024, at Mesa Cemetery, the same cemetery where Emma's grandmother, Patricia, was buried. They'd rest side by side. Mother and daughter together again. Hundreds of people attended, friends from Missy's life, co-workers from the dental office. Dr. Holbrook came. He was 79 now, long retired. Linda Parsons came. She'd never forgotten Missy. Rachel Martinez flew in from Oregon, where she'd moved years ago. She sobbed through the entire service. Derek Crawford attended with his wife Lisa. He cried openly. Missy had been his first love, the mother of his child. He'd never stopped caring about her. Detective Marcus Chen attended in uniform. So did retired Lieutenant Sarah Ruiz. She was 70 years old now. She'd worked Missy's case for 12 years before retiring. She'd never forgotten, never stopped hoping they'd find answers. She hugged Emma, told her she was glad they finally knew the truth. The pastor from Mesa Community Church, Reverend Coleman, performed the service. He'd known Missy. She'd sung in his choir. He spoke about her kindness, her love for Emma, her faith, her joy. He talked about the tragedy of her death, but also about the blessing of finally having closure. Emma gave a eulogy. She stood at the podium, looked out at all the faces, people who'd loved her mother, people.
And the following weeks, Emma tried to process everything. 21 years of her life defined by her mother's disappearance. And now, it was over. She had answers. She knew what happened. She knew who. She knew why. But it didn't feel like closure. It felt like an ending, but not a peaceful one. She continued therapy, talked through her feelings, anger at Morrison,
anger at the universe, anger at the randomness of it all. Her mother had been kind, had been good, and she died because a man couldn't handle rejection. That was it. That was the whole reason. Not a grand conspiracy, not a calculated plot, just a weak man's ego and violence. Emma postponed her wedding. She and Daniel were supposed to get married in October 2024, but she couldn't. Not right now. Not while processing her mother's funeral. Daniel understood. They'd get married when she was ready. There was no rush. Robert Crawford stayed in Arizona for 2 months after the funeral. He didn't want to leave Emma alone. But eventually he had to go home. Back to Sacramento. Back to his empty house. He promised to visit again soon. Promised to be there whenever Emma needed him. Before he left, Robert gave Emma a box. Inside were all the letters Missy had written to her parents over the years. Cards, notes, photographs, memories. "This is your mother," Robert said. "Not what Morrison did to her. This. Her life, her love, her words. Remember her this way." Emma treasured the box, read every letter, looked at every photo, saw her mother as a child, as a teenager, as a young woman, as a new mother holding baby Emma. These were the memories that mattered. Not the violence, not the death, the life. Dale Morrison arrived at Arizona State Prison Complex in Florence in September 2024. He was processed, given an orange jumpsuit, assigned to a cell in the maximum security unit. He'd spend 23 hours a day in that cell, 1 hour in an exercise yard. No contact with other prisoners. Protective custody because his crime was particularly despicable. Even among criminals, there's a hierarchy. Child killers and men who kill women are at the bottom. Morrison adjusted to prison life. He had no choice. This was his life now, until he died. He got a job in the prison library, shelving books. It gave him something to do, kept him from going insane with boredom. He wrote letters to Emma, to Robert, to Missy's friend.
The Sunrise Palms apartment complex put up a small memorial plaque in memory of Melissa Ann Crawford, a life lost too soon. Emma attended the dedication. She stood in front of Building 2, Unit 214, where her mother had lived, where her mother had died. She said a prayer, said goodbye one more time.
This is the story of Melissa Ann Crawford, a young mother who disappeared on a Tuesday afternoon in April 2003, who was buried in the Arizona desert for 21 years, who finally got home, who finally got justice. But this story is about more than just Missy. It's about everyone who loved her. Emma, who grew up without her mother. Robert and Patricia, who spent decades searching for their daughter. Rachel, who lost her best friend. Derek, who lost the mother of his child. Detective Ruiz, who worked the case for 12 years. Detective Chen, who finally solved it. All the people whose lives were changed by one act of violence. It's also about the randomness of tragedy. Missy did nothing wrong. She was kind to a stranger, let a maintenance man into her apartment to do his job, said no politely when he asked her out, and died for it. There's no fairness in that, no justice in that, just cruelty and waste. Dale Morrison is 65 years old. He'll likely die in prison within the next 10 to 20 years. His life is effectively over. He destroyed Missy's life, destroyed Emma's childhood, destroyed so many futures. And for what? 30 minutes of anger and panic? 30 minutes that ruined everything. The question people always ask in cases like this is why? Why did this happen? Why Missy? Why that day? The answer is there is no good reason. Evil doesn't need a reason. Violence doesn't need justification. Sometimes bad things happen to good people, and we're left to pick up the pieces. But there are lessons here about the importance of never giving up. Detective Ruiz worked this case for 12 years, never solved it, but she documented everything, preserved evidence, kept the case alive. Detective Chen picked up where she left off, used new technology, new techniques, and finally broke through. If either of them had given up, Morrison would never have been caught. He'd be free right now, living his life while Missy stayed buried in the desert. There's also a lesson about the power.
To Robert Crawford, who lived long enough to see justice for his daughter, you were a good father. You never gave up. You never stopped searching. Your daughter knew she was loved. Your granddaughter knows she is loved. That's your legacy. To Detective Ruiz and Detective Chen and every investigator who worked this case, thank you. Thank you for caring. Thank you for not giving up. Thank you for giving a family closure after 21 years. You gave them peace. You gave them justice. That matters. And to everyone listening to this story, remember Melissa Ann Crawford. Remember that she was a real person, a dental hygienist, a mother, a daughter, a friend, a person who loved mystery novels and gardening and singing in church, a person who laughed and cried and dreamed, a person whose life mattered. She deserves to be remembered, not as a victim, not as a cold case, but as Missy, the woman who loved her daughter to the moon and the stars, the woman who made cookies for her co-workers, the woman who coached soccer even though she didn't know the rules, the woman who brought soup to sick neighbors. That's who Melissa Ann Crawford was. This case is closed. Morrison is in prison. Missy is at rest. Emma is healing. But the story doesn't really end. It continues in the lives of everyone it touched, in the work that continues to solve cold cases, in the families who still wait for